Meantime, they are images that inspire, educate, and sometimes just make us say, wow.
Yeah.
Over the years, NASA has given us spectacular photos and renderings that reveal a colorful and mysterious universe.
No doubt. And now Chris Martinez is introducing us to two of the artists behind some of the most iconic space art in the galaxy.
In a small, bright office, working side by side,
Let's see.
Robert Hurt and Tim Pyle bring the universe to life.
What we're doing does have real science underlying it.
Robert is an astrophysicist turned artist. Tim, once a Hollywood animator, is now a planet illustrator. Together, they produce some of NASA's most popular images, from renderings of how planets light years away could look, to actual photos of stars and galaxies captured by NASA's powerful telescopes.
And this is sort of how it comes to me. And then
Many of those images have a dark, grainy start, but color and light reveal an astonishing glimpse of how the deepest regions of space might appear to the human eye.
What I'm trying to do is show people sort of the broader colors that the universe has to offer.
It's a delicate blend of imagination and data. The artists meet with NASA scientists over many drafts to ensure a planet or galaxy's look lines up with the research to make each one as accurate as possible.
I love the challenge. It's kind of like a puzzle to me of trying to create something that looks really cool within the restrictions that were given by the scientists.
It can take days, even weeks, to produce just a single image. The dazzling final results, enough to keep us all dreaming of the final frontier for years to come. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Pasadena, California.
The artists also say they have to be especially careful when it comes to illustrations of other planets to avoid colors many of us would associate with Earth, like blue for water.
I would have never in graduate school ever imagined I could have ended up in what I can very much call my dream job. As the visualization scientist for the Spitzer project, my domain, if you will, is all of the visual side of our science communication. That ranges from taking the data that comes from the Spitzer spacecraft and rendering that into the color imagery that we release for the public, but also is taking science concepts that aren't present in our imagery directly and coming up with designs that will help us visually communicate the science that comes out of the project. In a sense, I think it was always my passion to be an astronomer, but it really took me until I got to grad school that I had the realization that, maybe you should just go for your dream and do the thing that really you feel the passion for and let that carry you forward. And sort the details out later when you get there. For me, that worked really, really well. I suppose in a lot of ways that I had to go through the same realization about my own orientation as well. Just came a little later in life that I got to the point where I was ready to face that and deal with it. I think any kind of progressive society that is really moving to embrace the civil liberties of its entire population, it has to reach each of these mileposts, in turn. And so that NASA is now making that part of its policy, I think, has made me very proud to be a part of it.
When this term first surfaced, all we did was, the way we made color images is just make red, green, and blue as red, green, and blue. We put photographic film in a telescope and we got a color image out. Okay. And there was this need when we first started pushing into different parts of the spectrum or processing it differently to make sure people didn't think this was the actual red, green, blue color of something. So the term false color came up to say as a little warning, this is actually a different way of looking at something.
Just to be aware of
it.
Right.
Now, of course, all of astronomy is false color today. I mean, there's almost no astronomy ever done in red, green, blue.
Okay.
Even the stuff that's done in visible light usually uses very narrow little filters around certain features that, say, hydrogen gas puts out or silicon or carbon, and then we recombine it in a way that would not be the color your eye would see anyway.
Okay.
So to call the entire field of astronomical visualization false color,
it just
we don't.
Seems like a punch in the throat for no reason.
It does, and everybody,
What's
all my colleagues,
yeah.
all my colleagues who did the same thing for Hubble and for the Chandra X-ray Observatory, for European, so like we get together occasionally for meetings and trade
Right.
secrets and tips and tricks, and we all hate false color, and we're lobbying to get people to really just describe it for what it is instead of saying it's a false color image. Say it's an infrared color image or a representation of infrared data.
Yeah.
A term I particularly like is translated color, It's
Ooh, I like translated
yeah.
color.
I mean, if I show
because that's
you
exactly what you're doing.
well, exactly. You know, if I show you a copy of The Art of War in the original Chinese, it means nothing to you. But if I show it to you in English,
Right.
you're like, oh, okay, that's in English. It's a translation. It's not a false copy
Right.
of the book.
Right.
It's a translation.
Right. It's you are now able to comprehend the book that was in Chinese.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so that's exactly what we're doing with color. We're
Translating.
translating it from a different part of the spectrum. It's real color.
Yeah.
It's really there. If your eye actually worked in that spectrum, you would be able to see that variation.
Right.
But it's been translated into something that you can see.
Right. And now you can see it, and now you can understand the science, and you can understand the math, and you can and
And,
have an
appreciate the
idea,
beauty.
and appreciate the beauty of it.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through, so I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space, but I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.